Hey guys, I wanted to give you guys an update on my day 2 so far of Project Restore. Um, I've so far got a couple of tools made and some documents to keep me organized through the next couple weeks. I went ahead and made a feature list to keep me on track, as well as a game loop of what I kind of have as an idea, and I'm starting to prototype that out to see how well it works, as well as some of my features that I hope to implement. To keep it all organized, I created just a Trello board that basically implements all of my features and keeps me on task. To show off a couple of the things I have so far in my project is my basic character movement, and I'm actually using, if I can find it here, um, it's a character mover component on the asset store that I've had. And it works really, really easy, and it's on sale right now. Uh, but it just kind of helps me not reinvent the wheel with character movement and lets me sort of get straight into the game. This particular one also has an option that lets me choose my center of gravity, and so I can create this sort of planet walking effect of walking on a sphere, and which kind of works for the game design I'm going for. I then have created a couple neat little tools. This one I just finished, and I'm pretty excited about it. I wanted to be able to create little planets and be able to make them pretty quickly. And so to do that, I created this planet spawner script. Um, and basically how it works is it allows me, I create a custom class that holds a name, a game object, and some components about how many the game objects I want to spawn, the size, and how far away they should be from the surface, since different objects have slightly different points or center points. It then allows me to choose what object to generate it on and an empty game object to put these objects under. So instead of having a huge long list of objects, I'm able to organize them by their different names. And then there's a list that keeps track of them. Then I added two buttons so I can generate it out of gameplay and then tweak stuff, delete things instead of having a completely randomly generated planet. I'm able to still customize it. So I've added a tree, rocks, and some treasure chests. And if I populate it, my planet now becomes populated randomly with all those objects. And then I can always add more if I want to tweak. I could say I don't want any more treasure chests. Uh, I'll do a couple more rocks, but I'll make these ones a little bit smaller. And then I'll do some trees, but I'll also make these ones smaller trees. And I will do more of them, and I will add a couple more, and now my world has a bit more. And you'll see here now, it creates these parent classes that holds all the objects. And if I want to, I can clear the world, and it will delete all of these objects because it's storing them inside of this list. And now if we go into play, I actually have a playable planet that's got some foliage, and it can move around. And the other thing I've made is an interactable script. So I added it to my treasure chest. And it's able to then, currently the treasure chest doesn't do anything, but it can take in all sorts of functionality and events and trigger them for the different game objects. And so I can add these to prefabs, generate them into the world, and then use them. So from everything from scene transitions to objects to enemies. And I'll show you how that looks on my treasure chest. I have this interactable, and I can set it to be if I want to interact with this object or not. I can choose to display something on the HUD. I've got text display as well as alternate text, so if it's on and off, it can display different text. An error text, so if the object can't be interacted with, it'll display that, as well as an icon that I can choose to display instead of showing text or alongside of the text. And then I've got different types here, so I've got toggles for turning things on and off. I have items, and so right now I don't really have any item scriptable objects, but once I do, I'll add them in here, and it'll allow me to actually call the functionality on those different objects. And NPCs if I want to trigger dialogue. But toggle seems to be the most popular for most interactable objects. I can choose it to be a button trigger, or I can do a collider trigger, so it will trigger once I move into the area, which is good for like sliding doors or anything, special events that maybe happen on the planet. Then I have, if it's an on and off, an event that can be called multiple times, or if it's one time and I can call an event on it, I can choose whether or not the event is currently active. and I can also change the transform. And this works for either of them. And so if I want to change transform, I can choose which game object is getting transformed, and then I can enable the different transforms for the on position, off position, rotation scale. It allows me to quickly and easily add a bunch of different components in here, edit them, tweak them, choose the animation time for how long it will take for them if there's an animation, and that's just using some tweens. And so it will move between the 2 points that I set in here. And then I also have the option for a view angle. And so if I enable this, the dialog text and the interaction functionality won't actually work unless the player's looking at the object. And so I can choose what that angle is. So those are the tools I've sort of implemented so far to make my game easier to build. And that's sort of where my game is at currently. In terms of just organization, I've set up a couple just empty game objects to keep my scene organized, as well as a template scene that I can just create multiple scenes from, and it has all the basic functionality in it. And currently I'm working on prototyping. I also made an initialization scene that gets loaded in. I had a little screen handler or scene handler that's in every scene, and it will bring in this initialization script that just holds the game manager, an exit listener, which currently doesn't do anything, an event system, and a canvas that has like the player HUD, and I can add all my other canvases. So at the start of the game, it's always going to load in this scene as a scene additive to any scene that I want it to. But instead of using something like don't destroy on load, this will allow me to, if I don't want it to be in the like main menu or the credit scene, I just don't include the scene handler script in there, and it won't add that into it as well. So I'm going to test that out and see how well that works from moving from scene to scene, or if that causes any issues. But right now it's been working pretty cool. But that's my day 2 progress so far. I'm still working on it today, but hopefully we'll have some more updates for you guys later on.